Have you ever wondered why that negative voice in your head is so hard to silence? The one that tells you you're not good enough, you're not as far along as you should be, and that you're never going to get it right. Here's the thing. That same voice isn't just in your mind. It's the same force shaping the confusion and chaos that we're watching play out in the world right now. And from the very beginning, that force has been pictured as the snake. It is cunning, it is deceptive, it is operating in the shadows. Scripture calls it the serpent. And whether it shows up as the critic in your head or the corruption that we're seeing in global systems, its tactics are always the same. So what I want to do in this episode is tie it all together. What's happening in your mind, why it's so hard to shake, and how it manifests in the world around us. And most importantly, the ancient biblical promise that tells us not only how this story ends, but how you and I can win right now. All right, guys, I get a lot of questions around, hey, how can I change my money mindset? How can I transform my limiting beliefs? How can I operate from a powerful state? But more and more, I'm getting questions around how can I maintain a powerful mindset in the midst of the chaos I'm seeing in the world today, right? Everything from the political divide to the forever wars to the financial and medical cartels or to censorship. How do I stay strong and stay the course with all the craziness that is happening in the world? And so I sat in this question and I got an answer. It was this little quiet whisper of, go back and look what happened in the Garden of Eden. And I'm like, go back and look at what happened in the Garden of Eden. Like, I'm not a biblical scholar. I was not even raised in a Christian family. But go back and look. So I did. I used my friend ChatGPT. I'm like, hey, what happened in the Garden of Eden related to this question in this conversation? And oh my God, the answer blew me away. I don't have tattoos. I told my wife, babe, I'm getting a tattoo of Genesis 3:15. So let me explain to you what happens in Genesis 3:15, all right? So this is the moment that God responds to the snake. The snake has betrayed Adam and Eve. It is separated through encouraging them to eat of the forbidden fruit. God, from Adam and Eve, it's introduced evil into the garden. And God makes a declaration. Now, this is the first gospel in the Bible. What do I know? I thought the gospel was just the gospel of Jesus. Actually, the first gospel is right at the very beginning in Genesis. It's called the proto-evangelium. This is the good news. God declares the good news. And what he says is, to the snake, I will put enmity between you and the woman, meaning I will separate you from the woman, evil from good. From your seed and her seed, I will divide you. And then he predicts, he will crush your head, meaning man will be victorious over you. You will strike his heel, meaning there's going to be some damage done. But ultimately what God just said is, in the end, my children will win. Good will be victorious over evil. And now the rest of the Bible plays out. Not only that, the rest of humanity plays out. So I want you to get this. This is not just a biblical theme. It is the core storyline of humanity and every single one of our own individual lives. And so we're going to be talking about the micro here, meaning what happens in your own life, how you deal with the serpent in your mind, the ego, cunning, baffling, and powerful, and how it's actually manifesting into these hidden power structures in the world and what we can do to reign victorious. So let's talk for a moment about the nature of the serpent. It's got four primary qualities. Number one, it's hidden. It operates in the shadows, right? Inside of ourselves, it operates in the shadows in the sense that it is our own mind. It is almost invisible. We've been living with it so long that we hardly notice it. It's become a type of white noise, that inner criticism, our limiting beliefs, that voice in the head. But it's also hidden in the external world. It's functioning and operating within existing systems and structures, within media systems and structures, within intelligence systems and structures. And it's been around so long that we don't even realize that we're being propagandized into believing certain things. There's a beautiful thing happening right now as a result of the chaos of the serpent in the world. And that is that more and more people are waking up to actually see the structure of the snake. Number one, it's hidden. Number two, it's cunning. It is highly intelligent. If you think about the relationship you have with that voice in your head, your limiting beliefs, it's really a one-trick pony. I like to say the devil only has one play, but it's the best play in the playbook. I had a conversation with a client of mine the other day where I was talking about where I struggle in my own limiting beliefs and my own internal dialogue. It used to be with money, but more recently, and for many, many years, it's been my health. That every time I have some weird thing going on with my body, it's the same tape that runs. Maybe there's something wrong. Maybe I need to see a doctor. What if I don't get it fixed? Is this something that's life-threatening? But it doesn't matter what it is. It's the same damn tape. And if, for example, you struggle with money, like I did for many, many years until I transformed my money beliefs. Everywhere you go, you're thinking about money. You're noticing other people who have money and you don't have money, and you're worried about not having enough money at the end of the month, and you're sitting down to order at a restaurant. You finally take yourself out and reward yourself, or you're with a loved one and you're looking at the menu, evaluating everything against money. It's like, holy shit, it's the same conversation. It's highly intelligent. It's just the same conversation, but it comes at you from so many different angles. But look at what's going on in the world today, right? The same conversation is happening over and over and over and over again. I mean, how many times have we tried to hold our governments accountable? How many times have we identified government corruption? You look at what's happening now at the highest levels with the coming out of things, at least in the United States, like the P. Diddy blackmail ring and the Jeffrey Epstein blackmail ring. And it's like, oh my God, look, and somehow we're convinced through this highly intelligent propagandized structure that like, oh, there's nothing to see over here. Don't worry that you're starting to see a part of the snake. That's not really what it is. Just go along with your own business. And it's highly effective at what it does. It's hidden and it's cunning. Number 3 is it's confusing. It's very confusing because a lot of the things, for example, that we're seeing at a global level, we kind of knew, but we were convinced otherwise. It's confusing. How was it that the pandemic was started in a lab, and many people were saying, hey, this was started in a lab. But then we were confused into believing that we were conspiracy theorists for actually simply identifying with what was so obvious in front of us. It's confusing. It's confusing in our own minds as well, right? It's confusing how to manage money. It's confusing that we create our own realities. It's confusing that I constantly feel like I'm not good enough. And when I stop and even look at it, I'm like, I don't even really know what I mean by saying I'm not good enough. There's a confusion. I mean, don't you feel confused not only in how you function in the external world right now, but a lot of times you're just confused with yourself. You lack clarity. I want to be purpose-driven. I want to make a difference in the world, but I'm confused around how to do that because there's this constant inner dialogue taking place that's convincing me that I can't do it. And then the last piece is deception. And that's one of the greatest qualities of the snake. It's deceiving. And so it's deceiving inside because we're such powerful creators and we are children of an infinite intelligence, born to actually take ideas and turn them into reality. Yet we think we're not good enough. Yet we compare ourselves to other people. And it's deceptive in the external sense because it pits people against each other, using propaganda and media to convince people of things that they're not even actually innately believing so that they can be in conflict with another group of people while behind the scenes the snake functions. So there are these 4 qualities: cunning, hidden, confusing, deceptive, right? Ego is the inner serpent. It's cold, it's calculating, it's survival driven. It's very much like the external environment that is created: cold, calculating, survival driven. And there's very much a parallel to addiction. I got face to face with the snake when I was working through my alcohol addiction, my drug addiction, my pornography addiction. We describe it in addiction as actually cunning, baffling, and powerful. Because your addiction will rise up so that you take a drink or use some drugs or look at pornography when times are tough. And then it'll manipulate you so that you use those same substances and abuses when you're celebrating something. I always had a reason, for example, back in the day to smoke pot. I was getting on an airplane, so I needed to smoke pot. I was going for a long car ride, so I needed to smoke pot. I'm super stressed out, so I needed to smoke pot. I'm celebrating something, so I needed to smoke pot. It's the weekend, so I needed to smoke pot. This is how it functions: cunning, baffling, and powerful, manipulating our minds in order to achieve its outcomes. So the serpent strategy is the same, whether it's internal ego or external systems of power. Now, what ends up happening both in our own personal lives and also externally when you look at how the systems of the serpent are manipulating people is that it convinces us to sacrifice our values for validation. One of the attributes of the external system is that it convinces people to do things they would never do for money, for power, for sex. That's the basis, actually, of these blackmail rings that we're seeing coming out that are being used by intelligence agencies, right? I heard in a recent interview somewhere that they've cataloged powerful people identifying what their vulnerability is. Is it power? Is it money? Is it sex? Because Different people have different vulnerabilities. But it's the same way that we sacrifice our own values in our own lives for those same things, for power, for money, for sex. And power may be for self-esteem or approval of others, right? We say things and do things that are not in alignment with who we are in order to achieve outcomes in our own individual lives. And the external system or structure, whether you're looking at it as the deep state, or you're looking at it as the Bitcoin barons, or you're looking at it as the internet platform entrepreneurs, they are sacrificing their values for validation, for power, for money, and for influence. And the way that that occurs is through the use of fear, right? Through comparison and through shame to keep us stuck. We do that to ourselves in our own lives. We sacrifice our values for validation or power or money or safety or security as a result of being afraid, or as a result of looking at what other people have and we don't, or as a result of trying to get out of the discomfort of shame. But that's the same tactic that's being used externally to manipulate people. You ever worry about something, by the way, and this is a classic example of the ego. You're worrying about something, right? Or you're afraid of something. You feel like you have to do something perfectly. And so you're now doing the thing. And then when it doesn't go as expected, you beat yourself up. Just notice that on every angle of that is the ego. It is the serpent. You're worrying, that's the ego. You have to do it perfectly, that's the ego. Then it doesn't go as expected and you beat yourself up, that's the ego. And you can actually see that as people are starting to break out of this structure and have their own independent voices that are self-driven and that are aligned with the God of their own understanding or their sense of self or spirit. The system tries to collapse upon them, right? Shaming them, blaming them, even in the current system, imprisoning them, censoring them in order to keep them quiet. Hey, it's David. Quick interruption to your regularly scheduled podcast episode. I want to let you know about an opportunity to go even deeper into this work together. If you have not yet, please check out the show notes. In there, we've got links to both our Mind Hack and our Whole Human Framework programs. Our Mind Hack course is an incredible framework. It's the foundation of everything that I teach on this show to help you understand how to become deeply aware of the subconscious programs that are holding you back and to teach you the technologies and frameworks to allow you to dramatically transform those belief systems and rewire your brain. Again, the Mind Hack program is our 7-day self-paced program. We also have our 12-week course, The Whole Human Framework. And we've got both of them right now bundled in a special offer for those of you who want to go big, want to go fast, and who understand that you don't want to put off another day of your full potential or holding on to unnecessary stress, anxiety, or suffering, but you want to be liberated from these habits of thinking and have a powerful living experience. Check out the link in the show notes. Jump on over to the website. Take a look at the programs and the extraordinary success stories of entrepreneurs just like you who have gone through these courses, and I will see you on the other side. And now, back to your regularly scheduled podcast episode. As I mentioned, one day I realized I was worrying about my health over and over and over again, and it's just the same record that keeps playing over and over and over again. And over time, it creates a false identity that is built upon success or failure. It builds up a momentum over time, unless you're willing to actually see the serpent as the serpent and begin to separate yourself from it. But this is all very much related to the way the human being operating system works. If you look at it from a neuroscientific standpoint, the reptilian brain and the amygdala, they hijack the prefrontal cortex, which is where our own independent thinking is, in an effort to support survival over thriving. So what I'm suggesting is that the same internal trauma and fear that we are experiencing as the ego is being externalized into societal structures. That the quality of the snake inside of us, which is the same quality of the snake in the garden, is the same nature of the snake in the external world, using patterns of deception and concealment, either to ourselves or to manipulate others, right? That is what we're seeing right now with everything that's coming out around the Epstein network and the ties to various national intelligence agencies and the way that manipulation and deception was used in a covert way in order to manipulate and produce outcomes that serve the few, but that sacrifice the whole. And that's what happens with the ego as well. The ego, if left alone to its own devices, will attempt to kill you or impoverish you or to separate you from everything else in order for it to maintain its hold and maintain its power. So externally, we see this collusion across industries as well. not something that's just political or left or right or partisan, but structural. And so we want to talk for a moment about why fighting the serpent doesn't work, because where I think a lot of these conversations start to feel hopeless is like, geez, what do I do? How am I ever going to change my own mindset? It's been going on so long. I mean, look, Dave, generation after generation, my family's been living in poverty. How do I break that generational financial insecurity? Or, man, I've been living in depression or anxiety so long and it just feels so overwhelming. How am I actually going to shift my state and start living from a powerful state? And it's the same thing we say when we look externally. It's like, my God, this war in the Middle East has been going on for so long. It's been 60 years. How are things ever going to change? My God, we've been living underneath these systems and structures from media to military to financial to medical, and they're so powerful and they're so interconnected. How are we going to ever transcend these things? So I want to give you the key to this, because this is what allows me to believe in the certainty of the goodness of the future. If you actually understand metaphysics, if you understand physics, if you understand neuroscience, you understand that what's happening right now is all part of the process of civilization, and that points a direction towards how you can navigate through it. Now, let's go back to the garden. Talk about Adam and Eve for a second. What was the option for Adam and Eve? In other words, when the serpent came and encouraged them to eat from the forbidden fruit, what could they have done to maintain the goodness in the garden and to maintain their relationship with their heavenly Father, who was God? What should they or could they have done? And the answer is really, really simple and clear, and it's so simple and clear that you can miss it. They should have ignored the snake. They should have ignored the snake without resisting it. See, the challenge with resisting something, because so many people want to resist their own mind or want to resist the systems in the world. There's a war on drugs. There's a war on this. There's a war on that. We're trying to destroy whatever it is that we oppose. Is that when you stand against something, you actually stand up something, because it's all energetic. When you bring your attention and focus to something, it becomes more powerful. You literally become the structure that holds it in place. And that's why fear is used and amplified in the world today through the media propaganda systems. Fear is one of the primary mechanisms of the snake, whether it's internal in your own fears or external in the fear that's invoked in the world through financial collapses and pandemics and forever wars and whatever we're being convinced of that we should be afraid of, that strengthens the system because it aligns us against that which we fear, which just stands it up even more. The opportunity is to pull our attention away from it. Right? And we understand this from a neuroscience perspective, that attention amplifies neural pathways. The more you actually think about something or worry about something, the stronger the neural pathways become, and the more likely you are to think about those things and actually produce those results in your life. So for example, if somebody's trying to change their money situation, we don't pay attention to the absence of money. We don't pay attention to the financial insecurity. That's the existing habit. What we need to do is shift our attention towards something else. Shift our attention towards financial abundance, or even just shift our attention to anything else, like taking a walk in nature or spending time with friends, versus continuing to beat the drum of financial insecurity. Over time, as we do that, we prune the old neural networks because we no longer engage in that habit of thought, and we start to build new neural networks in the direction of who we want to become and what we want to create. So the strategy here is actually the withdrawal of attention. It works on an individual level. That's at the foundation of a changed mind. And it works in an external environment and how we deal with global systems. You stop paying attention to them. The challenge is they're so alluring because the snake knows that our system is built to pay attention to fear because it's part of the survival mechanism. And so if fear can be created, we pay attention to it and we just strengthen that which we are afraid of. You guys picking up what I'm laying down here? This is actually the story of Moses and the Hebrews in the Bible. Moses and the Hebrews were enslaved by a structure of totalitarian control under Pharaoh in Egypt. And as we look at what the moral of that story was, how did they get to the promised land of where they wanted to go? They walked away from Pharaoh. They didn't rise up and overthrow Pharaoh. They didn't resist Pharaoh. They would have been crushed by Pharaoh. But through a series of miracles, they were allowed to walk away, and they had the courage to do it. Now, many people were afraid to do it. Many of the people said, geez, we're in the middle of the desert. This feels so uncertain, so insecure. What if this promised land doesn't exist? This is so scary. Take us back to Pharaoh, right? That's what they wanted. But the solution is clear. To build the future that we want, we must direct attention towards what we want. New systems, new structures, new behaviors, and withdraw our attention from the current system and structure. In the same way that we change our own minds, we must withdraw our attention for how long we've been single and start directing our attention towards the desire of a soulmate. We must withdraw our attention from how long we've been sick and move our attention towards thoughts of good health. This is how we transform our own individual lives, and it's also how we transform the world at large. Instead of raging against big pharma, we channel attention to preventative and integrative healthcare systems. Instead of battling corruption in the financial world, we invest our money into transparent, decentralized models. This is how we create a new system and how we rise victorious. And you must believe that this is the way to do it. You must believe that there is good and that good is on your side. You must believe that the snake has no power. And this is why in other episodes I've talked for me about the importance of a personal relationship with the God of my own understanding. Because it is scary, and the snake is so cunning, baffling, and powerful, operating in deception and hidden in the shadows, permeating the existing structures in so many different ways, it can feel overwhelming. But I'm sure it felt overwhelming when that shepherd boy David, who rose to become king, was facing the warrior Goliath, and he stood in front of him with the full faith in good and God that he had and said, "Today, all of Israel will know that there is a God here, because I will defeat the warrior Goliath, because I stand with God, I stand with good." And so we must have courage, we must stand, and we must fight the real battle, which is control of our own attention. I want you to understand this. Right now, the battle is for your attention. And the way your attention is being won by evil is very cunning, powerful, and deceptive. You have to reclaim control over your own attention in order for you to rise victorious in this war. And to have faith that doorways will open even though we cannot see them yet. We must withdraw our attention from the current system and direct it towards the idea of a promised land, even though we don't have all of the clarity yet. You know, remember, Moses was helping to shepherd the Hebrews out of slavery under Pharaoh. And got to a point where they didn't know how. They were standing at the Red Sea. Pharaoh's armies in pursuit. But then the way was shown. Moses was told to raise up his hand, and the miracles occurred. The oceans parted. That is in anticipation of what will occur as more and more of us liberate our own minds, learn how to withdraw our attention from those things that we do not desire, to use them as a, hey, thank you. You've made it very clear to me what I do not want. That's giving me an idea of what I do want to create. And then we just go 110% in that direction with the faith of that small shepherd boy. That's what's required. Certainty of the goodness of the future. And as we do it individually, we transform our own lives. As we do it collectively, we create a new humanity. So it's important to understand there is a snake. It is in our minds. It is in the worlds. It was there in the very beginning. It was the thing that separated us from our relationship with good and our relationship with God. But the declaration has been made. We will stand victorious. And in order to do that, we have to stop feeding the serpent. We have to learn how to withdraw our attention. As we remove our attention from the system, it disintegrates. It disintegrates. It disintegrates as we pull our attention away and we direct it towards something that we want to create, the promise of a new possibility, and that begins to integrate into our material reality through thoughts, through ideas, through collaborations, through collectivity. And you're seeing it happen right now. You're seeing it happen. It's in the messy middle. Something like blockchain gives the promise of democratization, and then the snake infiltrates it very, very quickly. That's what the snake does. The promise of a new democracy of the United States back in 1776, the snake infiltrates it very quickly. But as more and more people are waking up and more people are holding the vibration of faith and the vibration of confidence and learning how to direct their attention, the snake will not be able to penetrate the new systems. This is why God said, He will crush your head. It's the first of the good news. And this is not New Age mysticism. It's the way human behavior, human psychology, and neuroscience function and how civilizations evolve. So the serpent is cunning, yes, but its power depends on our attention. In scripture and psychology and neuroscience, it's consistent. What we attend to expands. What we withdraw from dissolves. And so I want you to walk away from this episode, guys, knowing that the victory is certain. I believe in the certainty of the goodness of the future, both eternally and practically. And when we withdraw our attention from deception and place it on truth, the serpent disintegrates. And when we integrate around love, courage, and vision, we build the promised future. the one foretold in Genesis, the one I'm getting a tattoo of on my back, and the one waiting for us now. So, hey, if you want to anchor the certainty of the goodness of the future, if you want to be on the side of victory and to reclaim your mental state regardless of what's going on, do me a favor, be a part of our community. Jump on over to davidbear.com or check the link in the show notes. You can opt out of the old system and opt into the new one. You can subscribe to our email list. I'll send you my free Mind Hack ebook and a 4-part training series on how to bulletproof your mind, your family, your life, and teach you how to go beyond self-awareness, rewire your brain, and empower you to create a new reality. Check out the website, sign up for free, get on the journey with us and this amazing community. I love you so much. Thank you for being here with me today, and I will see you in the next episode.